Welcome to Championship Sunday and welcome to Countdown to Game Day, covered by State Farm. It is where tickets get punched, dreams are born as March is upon us and we dream of cutting down the nets. Alongside Alexa Philippou, Ari Chambers, I am Sam Ravech. So great to have you along with us. We are leading you into College Game Day ahead of the massive showdown in Greenville at the SEC tournament between South Carolina and Texas. We'll talk about all of these games coming up, consequential games. Hailey Van Lith is going to join the show. Charlie Creme will be on as well over the course of the next 30 minutes. I want to get your thoughts, guys. Ari, I'll start with you.
Yeah.
Biggest surprise from Champ Week?
Okay.
Don't tell me NC State yet.
I wasn't going to go there, Sam. Why would you think I would ever go there? No, but you said the big showdown in Greenville. I'm looking at Greensboro, North Carolina, where we have a Tobacco Road rivalry brewing, the battle of the 919, NC State, Duke. I know I had to just drop the NC State, but Duke beating Notre Dame, not necessarily the biggest upset. You know, Duke has been ranked top 10 throughout the season, but just the fact that they were defensively sound. Notre Dame has not been able to recover.
Yes.
They've lost 3 of the past 5 games. You know, Niele is going to have to really have a coming to Jesus with her team, but Duke being able to pull off that upset win and having this great 919 battle in the 3-3-6, that's rich. That is rich for me.
I love that for you. If only we were there in Greensboro and not just in Bristol, Connecticut.
Pour one out. We poured one out for your card last week. Pour one out for me today.
Yes, yes. You can do this. I believe in you. It's all you. I'm a little surprised that things have been a little chalky. No crazy upsets, no like Cinderella team, at least in the Power 4, where we're like, where did this team come from? Like they've gone on a crazy run. But what that means is probably we're going to have some really good games tonight, because it means the best of each respective conference are facing each other. So I'm thrilled for that. And I also love that we're going to get some, you know, like this UCLA-USC showdown. It's the 3rd time they played each other. Same with Baylor, TCU. So I love, and of course, Texas, South Carolina. So there's going to be like all the more rivalry and stakes that are going to be on the line today.
And it's not necessarily, like you said, not necessarily upsets, but it's the battle of like the parity of the top teams that we've seen. Like anybody can get it on any given night. So it's just a direct reflection of that. Not necessarily the upsets, but we get the battle of the best today.
Great tease, by the way. Thanks for pulling up our full screen here. Duke making their first appearance in the ACC title game since 2017. By the way, South Carolina and UConn, the only Division I teams to make every possible conference tournament championship since 2020.
That's wild.
2020. They have just been consistent, and we have a great slate of games again. Baylor and TCU battling it out in the Big 12 title game as well. All right, not going to waste any time here. Let's get to our three-point play. We're each going to have 60 seconds to touch upon some of these conference championships coming up. We get USC-UCLA Part 3. And Ari, can the Bruins finally win one? And can somebody please defend Juju Watkins?
That's 2 very different questions, right? Juju every single night takes 3 bodies. But to answer your question, yes, UCLA can win. Anything can happen. This is a very much crosstown rivalry. These teams are used to each other. They know how to read each other. But it's hard to beat a team 3 times in one season. So USC is going to be battle-tested. Corey Close came to her team and said, look, this is adversity. We know how to rise above it. You know, clearly Juju Watkins turns into a different being on the court. So outside of Juju, what can they contain for USC that won't have a dominating presence over that? You see Juju's stats against USC. She just really reigns supreme against Lauren Betts, who both of these arguably could have been Player of the Year nationally. Juju took it for Big Ten, but just making sure Lauren Betts can be not only have a great game, but a dominant game.
I mean, Juju has been the Bruin killer. Like, she just shows up.
That's certain Juju Bruin killer Watkins, Judea.
Yeah, that's what she does every single game.
Yeah, but I do feel like what's interesting is that the second matchup against the Bruins. Oh, do I have
No, keep going.
Okay, I was like, I don't know. Shot clock violation. I was just going to say that the USC's supporting cast really stepped up in that last matchup. So I think that's something that we should watch for this one, both in terms of like, yes, USC needs to have other people besides Juju help the team.
Absolutely.
But can UCLA also get contributions from other people? Because that was a real team win USC had, and UCLA will need to win as a team.
Absolutely.
All right, you just mentioned that the ACC championship will not feature Notre Dame this year. How concerned do you think, Alexa, should Notre Dame fans be about the way things have gone for the Irish?
I'm not going to lie, I'm starting to get concerned about Notre Dame, and I probably think the Irish fans are as well, because losing 3 of your last 5 games, falling short of not just being able to win the ACC title in the regular season outright, but then also of an ACC tournament crown, that is not the sort of basketball you want to be playing when it matters most in March. And so I think this is a real opportunity with this time off for Niele Ivey and the squad to really reconvene and try and find the form of that group that they were able to have in November and December and even, really most of the season. But to me, what's concerning is that we were talking about their defense previously being an issue, but now it also feels like it's their half-court offense where they're really not just able to get much productivity. And a lot of the times it just feels like Hannah Hidalgo is just trying to get to the rim and play, I don't want to say hero ball, but essentially just kind of go one-on-one. And that's just not going to be their winning success. Yeah. They played so much as a unit before. They got so much out of their also other players when we're talking about supporting cast. I thought it was notable in yesterday's game. I'll finish. Apparently, I am not good when it comes to
Alexa's I'm going to keep going.
Clock awareness. I don't acknowledge
Go ahead, offensive rebound, Alexa.
Well, I was going to say Liatu King was a non-factor. She only played 5 minutes in the second half yesterday, and Maddie Westwald hasn't really been herself either. So that's also concerning just in terms of depth. It can't just be on 1 or 2 players for that team.
I thought Chanae said it perfectly on the desk yesterday. She said, right now, they are just the Irish. They're not the fighting Irish because they really haven't had a lot of fight, and I thought that was a great point by Chanae. All right, let's move along here because the SEC has continued to deliver all season long, and it leads up to the culmination of a matchup part 3 as well for Texas and South Carolina. So I'm going to take the 60 seconds here on the shot clock and talk about this one. By the way, although Texas is new to the SEC, their head coach is not. Vic Schaefer coaching in his 5th SEC title game. By the way, meeting up against Dawn Staley is also nothing new. South Carolina playing in their 6th straight SEC title game is it's tremendous. And to think that this whole thing started with a coin flip. Picking this game is a coin flip, I think. It was so good to watch these two teams battle it out all season long. They were low-scoring games. I probably wouldn't expect anything else, but I'll relinquish the last 15 seconds if any of you guys want to make a comment on this game.
I mean, nothing completely additive in the fact that these are the 2 best teams. The coin flip was the coin flip, but we were going to probably see this matchup regardless.
Right.
And so I'm looking forward to it, but, consistency, continued excellence throughout the whole season. OT. There's never much love when we go OT.
Oh, it's going to be fascinating to watch. It's always going to be a dominant game, physical game as well. But let's keep it in the South Carolina realm here and talk a little bit more about what Dawn Staley has built, which is a juggernaut in Columbia. She continues to stack talent left and right every single year. And when you talk about her former players, her current players, the one thing they all have in common is they were all really talented and elite players, and she attracted them to her program. Now, that has led to some of the other coaches in the SEC taking umbrage with the fact that South Carolina continues to build up these elite rosters and elite talent. Let's take a listen.
Look, I don't know that I've ever coached against a team that's got 10 McDonald's All-Americans on a roster. How do you even keep 10 on a roster?
And in a game like this, you need it. They were bringing in McDonald's All-Americans, 4 McDonald's All-Americans, and just seeing which one was going to play better, and they were fresh. And
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it.
Iconic response. Just
I mean, what else can you say?
No.
Go ahead, Ari. Take it away. I'm not even going to ask a question. What are your reactions?
Is everybody okay? Are we good here? Dawn Staley didn't just wake up and was able to acquire McDonald's All-American. She built this program from the ground up, coming from Temple. Nobody was bought into the division. I am old enough to remember the Battle of the Carolinas when it wasn't even competitive. I am old enough to remember a Dawn Staley who was trying to make something happen, who acquired her home team heroes to build this program from the ground up. Yes, when you have continued success and when you win, people are going to want to come to your program, but you have to get there somehow, and that's through good coaching and good acquisition. Starting with Tiffany Mitchell. Okay, I love the Lakeisha Sutton, the Tiffany Mitchell, the Marquishas of the world. But Tiffany Mitchell was a hometown kid. She's from Charlotte, North Carolina, which is right down the road. And she bought into Dawn Staley's vision. But y'all don't have to hear it from me. I FaceTimed my girl earlier, so I think we should tune into that. Tiffany, why did you choose Dawn Staley in South Carolina? Back before.
You know, for me, I was a Dawn Staley fan growing up when she was playing in Charlotte. Kind of was a no-brainer, but at the time, you know, South Carolina wasn't the South Carolina that it is today, that everybody knows and loves. But she told me to just trust her, trust the process. I know it's really cliche, but I did. She told me she'll have all the tools necessary for me to succeed and make it to the next level, and just trust her. And I'm so glad that I did, because here we are today.
I'm so glad that Tiffany was able to answer the phone. She is overseas playing basketball, but what she said was lead by example, right? Dawn Staley, I mean, she might have acquired those McDonald's All-Americans, but she was an All-American herself.
Yes.
This is somebody who on every single level of basketball has succeeded. Why wouldn't you want to play under somebody like that? It doesn't necessarily mean that, hey, I'm going to stack myself around McDonald's All-Americans, but Dawn Staley has built this from experience, from a grand scheme of knowledge of basketball, both as a player and as a coach, and she worked hard to get here. Let's not just say that she could just wake up and snap her fingers. This is reminiscent of the Connecticut days when people were coming for Gino, right?
Yeah, I think this is just what happens more or less when you're at the top. It's actually a testament to how great
I agree with you.
that South Carolina program has been, how dominant in the SEC, but also nationally over the years. I would say it's actually funnier hearing those comments from Kim Mulkey because of the talent that she's acquired.
Yeah, like Kim.
She does it a different way through the portal a little bit more. But and I guess she has Michaela Williams and Flau'jae Johnson came as freshmen too. But Kenny Brooks, I will say I'm not like necessarily defending it, but I do feel like he's coming at it from the perspective of his programs he builds. I remember this quote where he was saying that we have like 5 guys All-Americans because we have to kind of like mold the players and I guess how they make burgers at 5
Alexa,
guys.
I'm sorry. I know you have a point. But you think these are the same players, like even Malaysia, the maturity in her game from year over year. Like these players don't just come
of course.
You're molding.
Of course. It is clay in both situations. Absolutely. But he's coming at it from a perspective of I have like 1 McDonald's All-American on my team. But hey, it's all from the perspective of they probably want the talent that Dawn Staley is able to get or be able to maintain too.
They respect it, and I want to make it abundantly clear. I really respect Kenny Brooks. I think that over the years, seeing how he has matured and nurtured Virginia Tech, and seeing how they really were they were a March Madness team that we were really locked into last year, and then him being able to have the buy-in of his players to take to Kentucky with him because they trust his culture that he's built. They trust the program that he's trying to make there. It's the same thing as Dawn Staley. The player trust and buy into culture.
I think there's different ways to build teams.
Yeah.
And that's also important here to keep in mind too.
Look, it's not like a McDonald's All-American comes into your program and they're all of a sudden a great player too. You said it, Ari. Like you have to be able to have the coaches around you. And Dawn Staley, I don't think she gets enough credit as a coach. She is a great basketball mind.
As a coach,
all of the above. But that leads us to our next kind of question, a topic here, is that with all of this success that they've had, it comes the criticism and it comes the expectations. And people expect this South Carolina team to be in the Final Four every single year. They have been in the Final Four each of the last 4 years, 2 titles in the last 3. So, Alexa, how confident are you that even with the 3 losses this year that they've taken, that they can make it back to the Final Four again?
I think they absolutely can. I think the 3 losses, and when we talk about the parity and everything this year, it's a little bit of a statement on, okay, maybe they're not as dominant as they were last year, but also maybe the field around them is better, but that doesn't mean that they can't get back there or that they can't win it all again. They just have to do it a little bit of a different way. And I mean, watching the SEC tournament, the way that Malaysia Fulwiley is playing, the way that Joyce Edwards has come along. I mean, Chloe Kitts also, she just had a triple-double, and she had a huge end of the game against Vanderbilt too. There's so many different players that can make an impact for the South Carolina team. So I am definitely not counting them out. And if anyone is, I think you need to remember who you're talking about and the track record that they've had in recent past.
We're looking at a South Carolina team that, yes, they have the loss of Camila Cardoso from last year, but they essentially are a very similar team. Last year was a rebuilding year. They're coming together. They've had some punches that we didn't realize that they would have. But I honestly think that that's necessary for a team who's coming in from an undefeated season, who has had these signature wins, like these statement wins. You need to get knocked down a little bit to be motivated to play your best basketball when it counts. Yeah. It counts all season, obviously, but sometimes you need a little reality check. And I don't think they're gonna get more than a few checks. I think their checks are kind of cashed.
They were good checks, too.
Yeah,
it's not like they were
great.
losing to bad teams this year. These
exactly.
were all talented and likely teams that are going to make deep runs into the NCAA tournament. All right, that's the South Carolina portion of our discussion here, but let's move a little along and talk about some of the performances that we've seen throughout this Champ Week. It is time now for Magic Moments covered by State Farm. Alexa, who caught your eye during Champ Week this week?
Well, we have to talk about Anissa Morrow. She obviously went down against oh gosh, that game yesterday.
Yeah.
All the games have blended
blend
together. She went down against Texas yesterday, and we think she's going to be okay. It sounded like from what Kim Mulkey said, she'll be just fine. But 34 points and 16 rebounds in that quarterfinal matchup against Florida. I mean, you cannot say enough about what Anissa Morrow has been able to do since coming over from DePaul. She's really able to translate, it feels like almost seamlessly, to the SEC, and really is a huge reason why this LSU team has been able to be in the Final Four conversation. And I love this photo with Anissa Morrow and Courtney Perez. Of course, again, 2 players in D1 history with 100 career double-doubles. So that's history right there. And I just love Anissa Morrow to be in that conversation. We have to remember she's an undersized post that's just 6'1", and it's really just about her motor, her knack for the ball, her determination, and that's always apparent when she steps on the floor.
Easily could have been in that conversation, Player of the Year, and is obviously. But moving over to the ACC, Ari, your Wolfpack are going to be playing in the ACC title game, a little Tobacco Road showdown between them and Duke. Yeah. Before we get to this matchup, though, I'm told we have a special guest joining the show, Ari?
Who's our special guest? Can we bring her in? Oh, you would be rocking Duke blue.
You already know.
I mean, forget the fact that she was a part of the 2013 team that got the ACC championship title. Also, light work that your jersey is literally lifted in the Raptors. Like I remember the jersey retirement ceremony. A Duke legend here, but guess what, Elizabeth? Today, y'all got to face NC State. I mean, that's all I'm saying. You got to face NC State.
They're all right, you know.
I'm just saying, they better not win 9.
I'm really excited for the matchup today. I mean, obviously, you know, Duke is coming in with a lot of momentum, and when you're in March, like, that's what you need, right? You want to be rolling, you want to be feeling good. So just excited for the energy that they play with defensively. They were so disruptive yesterday, and I hope that they bring that today.
Well, you just mentioned yesterday, 9 different players on this team scored a basket, Elizabeth. What do you think you like most about this team? We know how great they are defensively. When they make shots, this is an incredibly dangerous team.
Yeah, when they make shots, they're really tough to beat. I think Kara's done a good job of instilling confidence in every single player on the floor. I think everybody knows their role, and you know, when you're playing in this type of environment, you want everyone to feel like they can eat and that they can, you know, go off. So, yeah, just excited to see who's really going to step up today, who's going to dominate this game for them offensively, because you know the defensive end is already going to be there.
Now, I know you're a historian, and Duke beat NC State both times in the ACC championship game in 2010 and 2001. But I like recency bias. We're up 1-0 to y'all. It's a we versus y'all, Elizabeth. But what about this team is reminiscent from your team in 2013 who was so successful?
Yeah, I think the 2013 team was super balanced. I think that's why we had a lot of success in the ACC regular season and in the tournament in 2013. Some great names: Chelsea Gray, Haley Peters, Trisha Liston, Amber Henson. I could go on and on, but we just had so much balance. And so this year you're seeing the really dynamic guard play with Reagan. You're seeing defensive intensity with T. You're seeing the inside presence with the ACC Rookie of the Year, Toby. So there's similarities in the balance that they have.
In the good words of Miss or Mr. Wolf, we are the red and white from State, and we know we are the best. Hands behind our back.
Oh, boy.
We'll take on all the rest. So you go and enjoy the fights I'm playing all in that arena. I won't hold you too much longer. I just want to let you know who the real 919 is, Elizabeth.
Wow, that's crazy. I'll make sure to cover my ears when they're playing that song.
Get out of my face now. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great to hear from Elizabeth, and a lot of success. Credit goes to Kara, obviously, for building this up, but it's going to be a great matchup. I think you could even agree, Ari. This is going to be a fun matchup to watch.
It's going to be great.
Hailey Van Lith has been fun to watch all year long, and she joins the show next.
Hailey Van Lith has been playing unbelievably.
Van Lith
for three. Beats the buzzer. Van Lith keeps it going. Hailey Van Lith.
I'm just super grateful for my opportunity to play every day and to just get to be around this group of girls and this coaching staff.
Welcome in the stud herself, Big 12 Player of the Year, Hailey Van Lith. Thanks for hopping on with us on Championship Sunday. Appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
First off, congratulations on making history. The program winning their first regular season Big 12 championship. You guys sit on the doorstep of taking home a title this afternoon. I know you weren't there last year, HVL, but I'm curious, do you get the sense of what this year has meant to the program, meant to the fans there, but also what has it meant to you on a personal note?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. We have made so much history this year, and our program has just really trailblazed. But to see what they came from last year and just the adversity and the hardship that some of my teammates that were on the team went through last year, and just to see them prevail and push through, it really is inspiring, and it's just so uplifting to be around every day. But for me personally, I think that we all kind of have a chip on our shoulder in one way or another, everybody on this team, about something in their career or whatever it may be that they're just trying to come back from. And last year for a lot of girls on my team, it was the injury season and the open tryouts, just crazy things that you never hear about happening. So, we all just kind of have a little attitude about us, and I think that's what makes us good.
Now, Hailey, I love the chip, and I know that you are so team-oriented, but let's hone in on you. You're averaging 6 more points and 2 more assists per game than last year at LSU. So this year at TCU, what about this fit makes it better for you?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of the system and the offense that Coach Campbell has me in. It's very pro-style offense. There's a ton of spacing. A lot of it is making reads. I have improved my ability to make reads in this offseason. 3-on-3 helped a lot with it. But I think just me and Sedona playing off each other, I have great players around me who can space the floor, and when I have space to create, that's when I can thrive.
Hailey, going into this season at TCU, we have to talk about, too, your Olympic experience, being able to play 3-on-3 basketball and win a bronze medal there. How would you say that experience, both from a basketball standpoint, but also maybe even confidence-wise, really propelled you forward into this season?
Yeah, it's crazy how everything in your life that leads you up to certain moments was meant to happen, and the 3-on-3 and playing in the Olympics this summer was the perfect preparing moment for me to play in this offense. All 3-on-3 is making reads and playing basketball. There's no set actions or someone's getting a shot. There's nothing for certain. You just have to continuously make reads. And I played in the pick and roll a ton. I played off of handoffs and pitch actions a ton. And so I got a lot of reps at those reads. And yeah, obviously, when I have a bunch of space, and a lot of 3-on-3 is one-on-one, and when I get to just get in my one-on-one bag all summer on the 3-on-3 court, it's giving me confidence, and it's paying off right now in the postseason.
One thing about you, Hailey, a confident Hailey is a lethal Hailey, but you're also super experienced. So is your team. So what are the keys to success to making a long run and doing something that y'all have never done before?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we have to take advantage of our maturity. We have a lot of veterans. We have a lot of people that have won in tough environments. And so we have to make sure that we use that to our advantage every game. And if we can play with poise and we don't let people speed us up offensively, we're super hard to guard. We're so talented. We have so many weapons. So as long as we just maintain composure and keep a chip on our shoulder on the defensive end and compete, I think we're pretty hard to kill. So I like our chances.
One thing about Hailey, she loves a chip now. You love a chip, Hailey.
I got plenty of them. Whatever you need, I got
it. We love it. We love to see it. Now, Hailey, we know you have some big goals remaining for the rest of March, including today, obviously. But I did want to just ask you, this is your last season of collegiate eligibility, and I'm sure you're, again, trying to focus on what's ahead of you. But what does excite you about what's to come with your career beyond this, the final few weeks of your season here at TCU?
Yeah, I think at this point in my career, I am just excited for any opportunity that I can get to continue to play this game. No matter what it may be or what it may look like in the future, nobody really is in total control of that. But if I just can get an opportunity, I'll take it, because I know at the end of the day that I'm gonna go and compete as hard as I can. So as long as I get the opportunity, I think I'll be good.
We know you will be, for sure.
Yeah, Hailey, obviously massive game coming up today. What has been the focal point for your team and your head coach going into this matchup against Baylor?
Yeah, Baylor is a great team. I mean, we've played them 2 times. They're super athletic. They're very physical. They're gritty. They're tough. And what a great game to play for the Big 12 championships. 2 rivals who have already played twice. That's the game that everyone wants to be in. And at the end of the day, it's going to be up to us to be the tougher team. And we know that they're going to come out and play hard. So as long as we match that intensity, I think it'll be a great day for us.
HVL on Championship Sunday. I mean, the must-watch TV. Must-watch TV.
She ready.
Everybody tune in. It's going to be a show.
We'll be locked in, Hailey. Best of luck today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Let's welcome in our good friend, ESPN bracketologist Charlie Creme, who has not slept since Labor Day, and he won't sleep until April. Charlie, it's great to have you with us. Consequential week in Champ Week. In your opinion, who has gained the most from this week and who has lost the most?
Well, when I go with Baylor as the team that's gained the most, because I have them now in the top 16. By making a move to the Big 12 final, they really kind of set themselves up to be able to do this and really taking advantage of some other teams that fell back. So this Champ Week's been all about taking advantage of opportunity. And
right.
Baylor was really the one team that really stepped up when they needed to. And the fact that they're still playing all of these other teams that we'll discuss are not still playing and did not really do the job. Not only did they not do the job to get to the finals of their tournament, they went out really early.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And you can't say enough when we're talking about Baylor, about Ari Van Lith. I mean, 37 points in that overtime win over Oklahoma State. We were saying it was the game of her life, right? To be able to put that together.
Easily the best game she's ever played in college. She was fantastic. She really carried Baylor. They didn't have a lot to go to because of some foul trouble and things like that. But every time they went to her, she delivered in this game yesterday and was just massive. They wouldn't be in the position they're in now that we just discussed about them being in the top 16 without her, every bit of her performance yesterday.
Now, Charlie, let's take it to the ACC. You mentioned disappointments and not making it to your final. Notre Dame has lost 3 of their last 5. I know March Madnesses, but when you're looking at Notre Dame, have they fallen to a 3 seed?
They haven't. The resume is still, in totality, still very, very good. So I don't have them falling, and they won't fall, I don't think. They could have had LSU managed to pull out that game yesterday against Texas, because then LSU bumps up, and then with TCU playing today, TCU could have then overtaken Notre Dame. But I think Notre Dame's going to hold on to a 2 seed, despite the fact that we really don't know at this point what the future holds for Notre Dame.
Yep.
But the present, I think, still says 2 seed.
You're saying we have recency bias. We need to calm down.
Yeah, we got to remember they did beat USC, who's going to be a 1 seed.
Right.
They did beat UConn, who's probably the best 2 seed, and they did beat Texas, who might be number 1 overall.
Yep.
You can't they were earlier in the season, but you still can't discount those wins, because when the committee sits down to look at this stuff, they're looking at the full body of work. They will take into consideration how Notre Dame is playing now, for sure, but they're not going to just throw away those huge wins that the Irish had earlier in the year.
If nothing else, it's concerning, because the one thing that Notre Dame has struggled with since Niele Ivey has been there has been depth at times, and some injuries have plagued them. And in March, if they're not fully healthy, there are some questions, I think, legitimate questions.
I mean, Niele's really stressing we need to get back to our identity. Yeah.
I think problems on both sides of the ball. Defense. We talked about defense last week on this show, but I think it was their offense that really let them down against Duke. And yes, Duke is a really tough defensive team.
If anything, you're going to give them Duke is some defense, okay? Carol Lawson doesn't play about that.
Right. But we know that this Notre Dame team is, honestly, it's a shell of what it was at the beginning of the season when they got those top wins. And I think Niele Ivey would be the first to admit that.
Yeah, I talked early in this season about I wonder how the chemistry would work with this team with bringing Olivia Miles back into the mix. And it was fine almost right from the get-go.
Yeah.
Now I'm sitting here saying, what's the chemistry like on this team? It's weird. Wasn't supposed to happen this way in reverse. But I think that's one of there's many questions I think we have in Notre Dame. But one of the big ones is, you mentioned offensively, Alexa, it's the chemistry. Hidalgo, when she has the ball in her hand, it's almost like she's playing 1-on-5. Miles was a lights-out shooter for a stretch in January into February. She's not making three-pointers the way she did. She's not running the offense the way she did. She's lost a little of her aggressiveness, I think, going to the basket as well and setting up teammates. So maybe this time off that Notre Dame's going to have now before their first tournament game will give them a chance to breathe, reset, have the coaching staff kind of go back to the drawing board and figure out how to kind of rework that offense.
Speaking of teams that maybe are on the kind of downside a little bit, what teams that you alluded to earlier kind of have played themselves out of hosting at this point?
Well, a few weeks ago, I think Tennessee was a no-brainer to be able to host, and then they stumbled big time against Kentucky. Right after the last top 16 reveal, that same night, they were blown out by Kentucky. Then they lost to Georgia in the regular season finale, and that just set them way back. And then they go out in the second round of the SEC tournament, and that's 3 or 4 losses down the stretch, pulls them out. Alabama looked like a team after it beat LSU late in the season. Okay, this is the team that's going to move into the top 16, and they did. But then they fell early to Florida in the SEC tournament. They move out of the top 16. And Kansas State has been kind of a team in the top 16 in both of the committee's reveals, but still a lot of question marks. Ayoka Lee still isn't back. We keep hearing that she's going to be back inevitably, and then she doesn't play. She did not play in the Big 12 tournament, and they're stumbling down the stretch. And I think they pretty much have to fall out of the top 16, despite the fact that they still have a net ranking in the top 10.
That's such a bummer about Kansas State. I hope Ayoka Lee can come back for the tournament, but even if she is back, I mean, we don't know how healthy she's going to really be, but it feels like that team, we'll never know what they could have fully been if they were healthy.
Exactly, and you have to really feel for her in particular, but the program as a whole, because she's been such a big part of the program when she's on the floor, but it's been such a struggle to keep her healthy, and you just kind of hope beyond this that this is a player and a person that can be healthy and happy, because she's dealt with so many injuries.
Yeah, 1,000%. And now, Charlie, I know I trend on the dramatic end of the spectrum, like everything's madness and chaos.
No,
but
not you.
Not me, of course not. But can the outcome of this week's championship games change the outcome of any significant seedings?
TCU going from maybe a 3 to a 2 with a championship today. And I think the big thing to also look for is the order of the number 1 seeds, because that will determine kind of how the regionals set up. And I think we can get any kind of permutations out of these 4 teams. These 4 teams are going to be number 1 seeds. But South Carolina, I have as the number 1 right now. By the end of the day, could easily be the number 1 overall. We could see any sort of mix and match, and that'll determine who plays whom as we get to Spokane, as we get to Birmingham. Those Elite 8 matchups will be determined by, I think, what happens in the SEC and Big Ten championship games today.
Wow.
Saucy.
We love it. This is what Champ Sunday is for, right?
Absolutely, Alexa.
Speaking of some, potential intrigue, we had a big upset in the A10 with Richmond losing to St. Joseph's in the semifinal. So what can you tell us about the impact that has on the bubble?
Bid stealer. We didn't have that many conferences this year set up to be bid stealers, but the Atlantic 10 was one of them, because Richmond has definitely played themselves into being a tournament team. And with them losing, the A10 now guarantees 2 bids to the tournament, which knocked out Virginia Tech in this case. Virginia Tech was in, out. They've been that team this year.
Dancing around there.
Their first team out, last team in for weeks. And right now, they're out. Now, the Hokies could get back into it. We have to see how the Ivy League plays out. Because right now I have 3 Ivy League teams in the field, and Ivy Madness comes up next weekend. And if there's a situation where Princeton beats Harvard or Harvard beat Princeton badly in the semifinals, I think one of those teams then falls out, and the Hokies have a shot. Still maybe to get back in, despite the fact that they're home just kind of watching these games, crossing their fingers and hoping.
But you're saying there's a chance.
Saying there's a
chance. But you
chance.
literally never want your fate to be in somebody else's failure.
That's true, though.
They did that by going out early in the ACC tournament. If they could have won a game, then I don't think we're having the exact same conversation right now.
Yeah.
All right, we got under 2 minutes left. It's really great this time of year because we try to predict the unpredictable. We all try to pick champions, and more likely than not, we usually come up empty-handed, but that's what makes March so fun, right? Champions have commonalities, and I think for over the last 10 years, only one team has won the championship that was outside of the top 10 in the net, and that was Notre Dame in 17 and 18. But there really hasn't been a team as dominant that we've seen like South Carolina of years past. So with that being said, how many teams do you think legitimately have a chance to win the title this year? How many contenders are there?
I think I've been saying 6 for a really long time, throwing Notre Dame in there. If we think the Irish are going to fix themselves, then I think it's 6. And you can even make an argument that a healthy LSU and the right mix for NC State could include them in that. But
I saw that.
I'm still going to say 6, though. And I will give the Irish the benefit of the doubt. Some people might push back and say, no, it's really only 5, Charlie. But those 4 number 1 seeds that we just looked at, for sure are the contenders.
Okay.
But what's great about this year is, versus last year, last couple of years, is we always had that one team, maybe 2 teams that you can say, okay, these teams are definitely going to be in the Final Four. Last year was the wager, right? Was
sure.
South Carolina versus the field. We don't have that team that you would possibly put up against the field.
Right.
The field is this group of really good teams. We've had more number 1s overall ranked this year than we've had in years past. The changing of the guard.
Right.
Now Texas, and it was Notre Dame right before that, and UCLA for a bunch of weeks, but we also had South Carolina earlier. So it's a little more wide open, and it's going to make it so much fun.
You guys agree with the 6 number, or is there, about right?
I want to touch on what Kim Mulkey was saying in the post-game presser after their loss. She said, hey, we hung in there with the number 1 team with 3 out. And so what does that say about us? So be prepared for March.
I'm a little lower in LSU, but I do feel like with their talent that they could potentially get back to the Final Four. But I've been with you, Charlie. I think like that 6 is where I feel is right. Those are the contenders, but who knows? It's open.
We never know. It's March Madness.
But 6 is great, though, because we haven't had this many teams in quite some time.
And who knows? There may be a surprise run to the Elite Eight, the Final Four. There always is. March always delivers. It has been an awesome year, and it all comes to a head here on Championship Sunday. For Alexa Philippou, Ari Chambers, our friend Charlie Creme here, and I am Sam Ravech. Thank you so much for watching Countdown to Game Day, covered by State Farm. Enjoy the games, everybody.